The Boston Celtics beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in a game that was simultaneously close and then also not close. We break that down and more with a very, very special guest next on First to the Floor.
Who's going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice his body. Knocked away.
Wayne Spooney here, and I'm also joined by my man Jake Eisenberg. But Jake, no offense, you're far less important than our guest here. We are here with Richard White. You might know him as a fantastic tweeter and the father of Derrick White. Richard, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me. Doing well. Always well after a victory.
Yes, that is right. Even one that gets a little sketchy at the very end there. So usually in our post-game shows, here's how we do it right off the top. We go around, everybody give one big takeaway from the game, sort of the key thing you thought won the game. So Richard, why don't you start us off? What do you think was the big decider for the C's tonight?
I thought the ball movement was a lot better than the other game. There was several, 2, 3, 4 pass sequences, and they were pretty much knocking down the shots after those ball reversals. So if you can get the ball moving, get the defense moving, your shooting percentage goes up. I guess against the Knicks, it was kind of like one pass or a catch and shoot, and they didn't really make the defense work.
Yeah, I think it was evident straight away. Big game. Everybody was playing with intensity, getting downhill, kickouts, and the defense. I think that's some of the best defense I think they've played all season. And, obviously a big matchup with the Cavs losing those 2 games in overtime. I think all Celtics fans, this was going to impact us emotionally one way or another. If they got the win, we were going to be riding high. Thankfully, that's what happened. But, it's been kind of a rocky, out of the gate from the All-Star break. Because, we were 2-1 with the Pacers and the Sixers wins, but it didn't quite feel like 2-1, especially after the gut punch of the Knicks game. To see them come out and play the right way, Richard, you're 100% right. Like when they're moving the ball like that, they are just so hard to defend. The quality of the shots go up. The rim attempts are easier because the defense is, in rotation. And then to match up on the other end, I know we'll get to Rob, but it was great to be able to match their double bigs with our double bigs.
Yeah, and we shot 50% from 3 tonight. I think, that goes a long way, but it felt like, unlike the Knicks game, a lot of these threes were earned, and it goes to the ball movement. That starting lineup, they make up for a lack of shooting, although Al is basically an elite 3-point shooter at this point. With the ball movement, they had that one ridiculous play. I think it was Tatum hit Al, and then Al touch passed alley-oop to Rob. That was just so incredible. And yeah, I think the ball movement and combined with the shooting just really set the tone. And the Cavs just couldn't really keep up despite Donovan Mitchell going absolutely crazy. Richard, what is it like watching your son have to go against a guy like Donovan Mitchell, who's just absolutely in the zone like that?
That's kind of been his calling card throughout. He's with the Spurs. He always got the tough matchups. So he always had Mitchell. He always had Lillard. I mean, when they played the Celtics, he had Tatum. So, it's not a really a difficult thing. You just kind of make them work as best you can and kind of hope to put them in areas that they're not comfortable with and they miss a few.
Yeah, Garland and Mitchell, man, they are a handful. Like Garland straight out the gate, big threes. Mitchell, I don't know what was going on with him tonight to play 44 minutes and empty the tank like that on, in the second half. I was trying to figure out why, because he took that knock, and I was wondering if it was like a bruise thing, when you sprain your ankle or something, you may as well just keep playing, because when you wake up the next day, that's how bad it's gonna be, regardless of how you keep playing. I wonder if it had something to do with that, because they were down big. It didn't make sense that they were playing him so many minutes, and man, he he wanted to get back in that game. I know he's tight with Jalen and Jason. I think it was a little personal there. He didn't want to get embarrassed on national TV. Man, he just keeps coming. I love how like competitive he is. He's a scary player to go against. Like some of the deep contested step back threes, like there's just nothing you can do with him. The left to right Euro steps, couple of offhands pushing defenders out of the way, like a defensive end swim move, which I'm pretty sure is an offensive foul that they weren't calling today. But I thought they made him work for it. But when he's hot, I don't really know what you're supposed to do besides just outscore him.
Yeah, I mean they did pretty good on Mitchell and Garland. They're tough, but they pretty much contained Mobley, and I think Allen had one bucket late. I mean, because usually the pick and roll, the roll man is usually open, and they get a lot of buckets that way. But Celtics did a pretty good job with their switching and keeping them kind of out of the way until it got the end of the game and they had nothing to lose. So Mitchell and Garland just put their heads down. And then if you're in the bonus, you can't really it seemed like a lot of little touch fouls that they're getting, but there's not much you can do when an NBA superstar puts their head down and goes to the bucket.
Yeah, there was one point where I think Tatum even tried to trap and Mitchell just split it so quickly and was at the rim. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible at times. And Mitchell's fun to watch, man. He's just absolutely explosive, and his handle is ridiculous. He has the ball on him and Garland. Their handle are just both incredible. It seemed like it was a change from how we guarded the Knicks, because against the Knicks, we were throwing doubles at Randall and at times Emmanuel quickly for some reason. I thought was kind of an interesting choice, but we were hard doubling and hard trapping a lot that game. And tonight it just seemed like, just switch it, let Mitchell get his and shut everybody else down. And that seemed to work. I mean, Garland, he hit those 3 threes at the end of the game there, but I think in the more competitive parts of the game, he was great in the first quarter and then really did not do much in that second or the third, especially the third when the C's kind of blew the doors open. And Mobley and Allen didn't even combine for 20 points. And so I thought it was nice to see Joe change things up a little bit. But we have a question in the chat from our guys, Green with Envy, Richard. Has Derrick ever talked to you about a guy he hates guarding or someone he feels like he has figured out?
No, he guards whoever they tell him to guard, and he looks forward to each opportunity to do the best you can to help the team win. Yeah,
I think I've seen Derrick take that many matchups. He gave the Celtics plenty of trouble. He's the kind of defender that gives both Jalen and Jason trouble, that just have ninja cat-like reflexes, getting hands on balls, like just always around like their ankles. I know you're not giving us the juice on that one. I guess there's no one that's hard for Derrick to guard, right?
Right.
Like that's kind of the truth of it.
I mean, Embiid's a problem, and Giannis. Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic are a problem. After that, you put your head down and you can. Well, it depends on the actual person. So like the thing with Tatum and Brown, they're more. When we were with the Spurs, they're more ISO. So if you ISO and you don't, Garland gets in because he uses the screen and then he gets you on your hip, and then you're at a disadvantage. But if you just try to beat him ISO, then he's a lot better. So players that ISO a lot, he has a lot more success. So Luka is an ISO. Sometimes Luka goes ISO, and sometimes he pick and rolls. But like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Middleton, people that are perceived bigger than him that just ISO him. He can quick hands and get hands on the ball, and that's where he gets a lot of block shots. But it's a lot more difficult if if you have to go through a screen.
Well, we love hearing you mention Middleton because Mr. Celtics killer. It's great to have a guy that likes to defend him.
Yeah, because when he was with the Spurs, they always put him on Middleton, and Middleton's gotten him sometimes because you don't always win, but he's had some success against Middleton because when Middleton tries to post him up and then turn and face, Derrick can get his hands on the ball. So if so that's something that it's in the back pocket that maybe people don't know, because like you said, Middleton has killed the Celtics in the past. So
yeah, and some of those, I think, taller wings, it feels like Derrick can kind of get into their handle too, as opposed to like the Garland types where they're just shorter. Fundamentally, the ball has to travel less distance. But let's jump back into the Cavs game here before we kind of get a little bit deeper into Richard's background and his relationship with his son, Derrick White. So we got to talk about Tatum. I mean,
he's
finally back. Yeah. 3-game cold streak. There were some fans getting, I will say, impatient about Jason Tatum's performance. I don't know why, because he does this all the time where he just has 2 or 3 bad games and then he finds it and all of a sudden he's flirting with a 40-point triple-double. So, Jake, what was your takeaway on Tatum tonight, man, other than wow?
Look, I was a little worried in the first quarter. I wasn't sure if Tatum was up to the speed of the game, because this was playoff level intensity. I felt like everybody on the court was bringing it, and we had like the Tatum air ball, which led to, I know, Richard White's favorite thing in the world, the end of quarter buzzer beater. I don't know if this is a Celtics issue or it just happens around the league, but we've had that many end of quarter buzzer beaters. But from that moment on, it was second quarter, we had the put back slam, and it felt like that was the moment that Tatum got into the game, and it was defense, rebounding, and then the pull up 3 starts to work, the playmaking. Spoon, you kind of said you liked Tatum's game from the Knicks game from a playmaking perspective, and like I think upon reflection and watching some of the tape again, I was like, I kind of agreed, and it felt like he was really making the right play out there, coming off screens, not hesitant, and then the confidence just once Tatum gets the feel. Scal loves to say it only takes one. Once Tatum gets on a little bit of a roll, there's nothing you can do. When the pull up 3 is working, honestly, I love to see the stat line of only 4 from 6, like only 6 3-point attempts, 14 free throw attempts, and obviously the rebounding and the 8 assists you love to see as well. But the outside in, the all around game, I think what makes Tatum like kind of one of the more unique superstars at the top is the 0 weaknesses, offensive rebounding lately, defensive rebounding. Looks like a power forward out there lately, and then obviously can give you 40. Kind of a matchup nightmare for the Cavs. Like Garland and Mitchell can't stay with him, and if he gets Mobley or Allen on the switch, just kind of too quick for them. And then he was just making beautiful passes. The left-handed kick to Hauser. He found Horford on several amazing kickouts. It was a perfect all-around top 5 Tatum game.
Yeah, I mean, that was his best game in quite a while, and that includes some of his very good games from before the All-Star break. So, yeah, I don't know, Richard, is there any takeaways you have from this game other than the refs being atrocious in the fourth quarter before we kind of move on?
No, I mean, they went back to playing their good ball. I mean, where things bogged down is, if Tatum or Brown, they just hold the ball and then it's like, the ball's not gonna move, and then they shoot, their percentage drops way down. But if the ball is moving and then they get it, catch and go, I mean, there's no stopping Jaylen Brown and Tatum when they go to the rim. But if they stagnate themselves, then that hurts, and that's kind of what happened at the end of the game. They stagnated because they're trying to use 20 seconds off the clock to try to get the game over. And reason that just doesn't seem to work.
Never.
The bleed the clock Celtics are so bad at bleeding the clock. I don't know what it is. Every time, like my fiance came home and we were up like 20, and the lead just starts to whittle down. I'm like, you have to leave the house again. This can't be. And then Tatum hit a 3. They go up 16 with like 4 minutes left, and I'm like, oh, it's over. She's like, don't say that. And it was over, but they did a good job of making us sweat. We can't move on though without at least
please.
giving Al Horford his, like, I know we mentioned him, but like, I think I might cry when Al Horford retires. Like he steps up in the big moments, like the Sixers game dragged us back. This game, like what, 6 for 6 from 3, playoff Al, man. I can see him aging nice and gracefully, but like it's gonna be emotional when he finally leaves the team. And if we're able to get a ring with him, I think, I don't know, retiring his jersey is probably going a little bit too far, but I retire it in my heart.
Yeah. I mean, he does, he's found his spots. I mean, both corners and then top of the key. So if you can run the offense, because the high screen and rolls seem to be working.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick comes over there, he just wants to engage the defense, because the pass is either going to go to Horford for a 3 or Rob for a lob. So, and they had both of those. So,
yeah. Well, how would you assess? We haven't even talked too much about Derrick. How would you assess Derrick's performance tonight?
It was well, because this was a difficult matchup because of the Cleveland size, and the rotations and lineups were going to be different. So I didn't think he would get a lot of minutes, and then Grant didn't get any minutes at all because of the particular matchup. So he took the ball to the basket. Yeah, we could have gotten a couple of more fouls or whatever, but other than that, he seemed to do pretty good. I mean, he made Garland and Mitchell work as best they can. I thought he got the benefit of a couple of soft calls where they just gave Mitchell everything. It was like he went by, and then he missed the layup, and then they go, "Oh, by the way, Derrick fouled him." I was like, he's not even in the picture.
I know, when they wait till they see a miss and then blow it, it always grinds my gears. But when Derrick came on, he had this ridiculous sequence where he like blocked a shot, got that nice little assist on the 3-on-2 fast break, and then immediately tipped a rebound, I think out of like Mobley's clutches. And it was just the quintessential, this is why Derrick White's advanced stats are so incredible, and why they say he impacts winning at like an all-star level, even if his counting stats maybe are not there, because he just does all the little things, you know what I mean? So he's a little things all-star. Like him and Smart are both very similar in that way.
Yeah, no wonder that the Celtics love Derrick White. He's, so similar to the winning plays and Marcus Smart plays makes.
Yeah, and the lack of ego. I mean, because he could, everybody wants to play, but he does what the team needs. You need him to start, he starts. Come off the bench, close, not close. I mean, he's there. So he probably would have closed tonight if he didn't catch that elbow. So
yeah, man, he's been copping a bit of a beating lately, hasn't he?
Yes.
But that's kind of occupational hazard when you play the way that Derrick does, right? He's getting hands everywhere, face in there. It doesn't matter like that. That moment, it was the Pistons game before the All-Star break, and he's bleeding, and he's just him. One more game. One more.
Yeah, one more. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's just so willing to do anything the team asks. I mean, you need him to switch on a Jared Allen for a possession, he'll do it. He'll get in there and muck it up on the glass. But so again, like I said at the top, great win. I think we dominated that game from the third quarter until about the last 3 minutes, and then it got a little squirrely, but the Celtics ultimately held on. So I believe 3-1 after the All-Star break, and maybe starting to find their groove a little bit on offense. And so we've got about 20 games left. We've talked a lot recently, Richard, about kind of what we're keeping tabs on, what we want to see during this final stretch run of the season. Is there anything in particular you're looking for? Maybe something they need to tighten up, or you'd like to see more of before they hit the playoffs?
Basically find lineups and rotations that they can use when they get to the playoffs. So like you're going to play Milwaukee, they're kind of a bigger team. What kind of lineup can you use there? You probably use Grant more than some other players. Find the rotations, especially in the last part of the regular season, where Tatum and Brown can get rest in games. I mean, I thought we were going to get that tonight because we had such a big lead, but
Jeez Louise.
But so if you can, get Tatum and Brown to the 35, 36 at most minutes, then they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's something we've definitely spoken about as well. Jason and Al in particular, those two guys, as far as keeping the minutes down. Yeah, Al got up to 32, and Rob, we always worry about. I'm always clutching my pearls about Rob's minutes, but he's kind of handled the minutes load. They got up to 30 minutes tonight, and I thought, this was definitely one of the best games of the year for Rob. So to see them have a big game, national game, and handle the minutes load. Yeah, Winford in the chat here, I think is one of best Rob game of the season. Game changer against Mobley and Allen. He was a beast on the board today, right? He only had 11 rebounds. It felt like he had 20. Like he was everywhere.
Yeah, I thought Rob was great, looking healthy. I've been tracking Al's minutes like a psychopath because I'm just so as a man who's about to turn 36 years old, I know what it feels like. So I'm really tracking, making sure Al gets his rest. But so I think we covered the Cavs game nicely. So personally, I would be very interested, and I think our listeners would be too, to get into a little bit of your background, Richard. So Jake, you want to lead us off here?
Yeah, of course. I think, everybody's Celtics fan, or most people that are listening to this podcast are Celtics fans. So it'd be interested to get your Celtics fandom story. How did you become a Celtics fan? And we'll go from there.
Yeah, I was born in Boston. So I was born in Boston right when they started their run of championships. So pretty much all I knew was, the Celtics won again. I mean, from 1960 to 69, they won 11 out of 13. So it's like they just didn't lose no matter what. So that was always. So I was always a Celtic fan. And then when Derrick got in the NBA, I had to give up the Celtic thing for the Spurs. But that was the Spurs was a great situation, and he learned a lot. And then to come to the Celtics, it's like it's really nice. I mean, the fan base. I mean, we travel sometimes on the road to games, and the amount of green on the foreign court is just it's incredible.
Yeah, we travel. I went to a game in DC last year, and it was like 60% Celtics fans. So how'd you react when you got the news that he was getting traded to the Celtics?
Yeah, I was kind of weird because that morning, we had, during that week had talked to his agent, and there's like nothing, because we thought maybe there could have been, but then they're saying there's no talk, there's no buzz, no one's hearing anything. So, and then in the middle of the morning, I get a call from his agent. And so it's like, uh-oh. And then he tells me he's been traded. Then Derrick calls me. So it was kind of weird because of the situation, because never been traded before. How do you get from point A to point B? He's on the road, so he doesn't have a whole lot of clothes and stuff. And his wife's back home in San Antonio, and she's pregnant. And so find a place to live. You got to find a new doctor. All things parents kind of worry because, on the court, he's going to do what he does on the court. Right. I don't have any concerns there, but, being an adult or whatever, you kind of worry that all the things get taken care of.
Yeah. Was there anywhere you were like, once you heard he's getting traded, was there anywhere like, please don't be
the Lakers
X team? Yeah. Please don't be the Lakers. Yeah. Like Orlando.
I mean, no, because I mean, it was kind of like boom. So we didn't have a whole lot of time to like, oh, it's not like say, oh, I'm getting traded, and then he said, oh, I got traded. Yeah, he's traded to Boston, which was always good because I felt like that's a good fit for him because you got the two stars in Tatum and Brown, and Derrick is a connector piece. I mean, and he plays defense, so he would fit in with Marcus Smart. He knows a lot of the people there because when FIBA, I mean, it was basically FIBA night tonight because Mitchell was there, Tatum, Brown, Derrick, and so they were all there. So that was kind of a place, familiar faces. And then Will Hardy's there. Will Hardy was his first coach in summer league. Ime was there because he was there when Derrick was playing for the Spurs in the playoffs against the Nuggets. So the comfort level of, you got traded, but there's a bunch of people who know who you are, made it kind of easier for me as a parent that he was going to be taken care of.
Yeah, I know with this Brad, that's how he works though. That's what we're learning, is that no one knows until it's happened. And I mean, that's a great point. Like they had probably the best scouting report out of anyone outside of the Spurs on Derrick White. Like to have Ime and Will in the room, and he honestly could not have been a better fit for this Celtics team. Like as you said, the ego, the connecting piece. Like that's like what I think Brad figured out as the coach of the Celtics was the types of players to surround both Jalen and Jason with. It's ball movers, it's people that can attack the paint, can basically do everything well, like, dribble, pass, shoot, really get the ball moving, which is what I think has really accentuated how, Jalen and Jason have gone to another level. I think Derrick's been a part of that for sure.
Yeah, because you got Derrick and Marcus are both ball movers. I mean, they can take shots, but their first inclination is to pass and set up. And once you get Tatum and Brown going, then you spot up and then you knock down your shots. So people have to make a decision what they're going to do, and the more space you can give Tatum and Brown, the better.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, and especially with, his shooting is just on another level this year too, so he can kind of float between being on ball and off ball, and he's making everything from the corner. So we did some research on you, and we found an article from a San Antonio newspaper that said when you were growing up in Boston, your father used to take you to the same barber shop that the Celtics players frequented. So you met a bunch of players there. Do you have any like notable interactions with any of the players?
I mean, I know, I was told that like Satch Sanders, he would come by the house. So we kind of met him, that first haircut, I bawled like crazy, and right in front of, Russell was there and Casey, Sam, and it's like, it was pretty surreal.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I would be speechless. I would probably just not talk.
Yeah.
Did you get any good nuggets from being around those guys? Like, because that's just a bunch of winners, right? Celtics legends. For the court.
No, not really, because I was probably a little too young to realize. And then
it's all osmosis.
Yeah. It just took a jet.
I love it. Well, how about you tell us a little bit about your game? Like, are you the one who taught Derrick the funky floater game? Because no one has a floater game quite like Derrick's. It takes some getting used to as someone who's watching him day in, day out. I think it keeps defenders off balance because he gets it up, before they think that he's able to get it up, and he hits it at a really high rate. Is that something from your bag, Rich?
No, that's not me. I was more of a point guard player, dribble, get the ball to the right people, and then play defense. Floater game, that's all Derrick and Marcus Mason. They work on that constantly, and it says you have to work on your pull up game and your in between game, and that floater game is something that's really important for smaller type players. Although he
Yeah.
missed the day, he had the baseline one. He tried
I know he's gonna hate that, and he does the patented Derrick White clap on the walk back as well.
Oh, you saw that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Anytime, yeah, he misses, like he'll miss one free throw, he'll clap after he misses, and then he'll make the second, and then he'll clap again. Like it's so, he's great.
He and Tatum, the kings of the clap after a missed layup every time. Although Tatum usually does it to show how mad he is at the refs, and Derrick's usually like, "Oh man, I missed it." So
Tatum's clapping at someone else.
right. So sorry, go ahead, Richard. I apologize.
For those clap technicals. I mean,
Yeah.
Has Derrick got one of those?
No. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, so Derrick obviously has been wonderful for the Celtics. We are huge fans on this podcast. But he's been even better this season. And this recent stretch when Smart was out, I don't know if you'd agree, but from what I've seen, that might be the best basketball he's played in his career. What do you attribute him kind of going to the next level to this season?
Because it's kind of, in case of emergency, break glass. Because they're, by normal, he'll kind of like try to fit in and work with people and stuff. But at the absence of players, or if they get behind, then he kind of flips a switch. He's done that in all his college things where, we're behind and then you go on a mini 8 to 10 point run and then get the game back to normal and then turn it back over to the other people and let it go from there. So when Marcus was out, he had more ball handling responsibilities, got to run pick and roll, which he's pretty good at. With the amount of shooters that they have, it works really well. Because some of the rotations he's out there, so like when Muscala came in, so he was there with Muscala and Hauser. So if you come off a screen, you can either get yourself downhill or those guys are going to be open and they're going to knock shots down. So that's why, when Marcus was out, his assists went way up. In fact, he had like four double doubles in like a eight game period.
Yeah, the level of confidence that he's been playing with this year, but especially this most recent stretch. I wonder if you think about the theory of sometimes, teams are an injury away from kind of unlocking other parts of their roster, whether that's finding another rotation or a lineup that works, or just like purely giving Derrick the car keys for almost a month there, really, to be the starting point guard for the team and to have so much success doing it. Do you think that, like, I think he was already playing with, I think, a different level of confidence this year, which I think just speaks to how difficult it is to come into a team that is so established, like the Celtics, Tatum, Brown, Smart, Horford, in the middle of the season. But then to have get given the car keys and then the team, the coaches, everybody to trust you to run the team for over a month and then to thrive in that role. I feel like that kind of unlocked him to another level again.
Yeah, I mean the team went well because Brown got hurt, and then they had that, and Brown and Smart were both out, and they went to that lineup where Derrick and Hauser were both started, and it kind of unlocked both of them because Derrick had the ball and he was playmaking, and then Hauser was getting open. And because he was starting, he started to get his confidence back, and he started making shots like crazy. So, when he was with the Spurs, he wasn't considered to be one of the, he wasn't starting right away. But then DeJounte got hurt, and so he had to get in there and and do well. So, when that's always how he's always been. It's like you need him to do something. He can step up, but in the meantime, he's going to help the number one and number two options, get their points and get going.
Yeah, one of our other co-hosts, Joe, one of his favorite little stats or like theories of impactful players is pressure to error ratio, and I think Derrick, it speaks to that kind of theory and impact better than anyone. Like he's constantly putting pressure by getting downhill, and on the other end, he's getting hands in passing lanes. He's putting bodies in front to take charges, and then at the same time, his decision making is so good. Like, does it get frustrating, watching other players make incorrect decisions when your son's like constantly just always making the right play?
No, I mean that's pretty much what we tried to get him to do is
Yeah.
keep making all you can do is make the right play. If you drive, if no one stops you, you shoot. If someone steps in front of you, you look to hit the open man. Sometimes players can get analytical and it's like, well, I haven't had a shot in forever, but it's not your time. That wasn't your time to get a shot just because you hadn't had one. So as long as you play the right way, then you get rewarded. The game kind of rewards people that play the right way.
Paul finds energy. I love it. We're doing some digging, and I found kind of your old YouTube channel, and I found an old interview of Derrick here. So we're gonna watch this, and we'll ask you about it after.
Derrick White. Today I was in the zone. I was feeling it from the beginning, and I was just trying to be aggressive and try to attack the paint. I didn't have very many shot blockers on mine, so I was trying to attack the paint and do whatever it takes to help my team win.
When you let the pass go to Billingsley, that ended up being the game winner, what was going through your mind?
I have complete confidence in Tim. He's worked hard all season long after practice, in the off season. So I had complete confidence in him, and I knew that once I passed to him that he was going to knock down that three, and it was a big shot for us.
And how tired of you are you feeling?
What? Yeah.
Do you remember that interview?
Yes. We were in Stevensville, Texas.
That I feel like we got all the little Derrickisms in there, hard work, be aggressive, and then the confidence to find, a teammate. But, how similar and how much has Derrick, changed? That was 7 years ago now, both as a player and I guess as a human as well.
I mean, that one, just to give you some background on that one, that was the first round of the NCAA regional. He ended up with 50 points, 14 rebounds,
Okay.
3 blocks, and 3 dunks. And when he was saying he hit his teammate, the year before they were in the opening round of the NCAA playoffs, and they were playing the number 1 team in the nation, and it was nip and tuck, and it came down. They were down 1, and Derrick took the ball, and they collapsed on him, and he made the right play. He kicked it out to his shooter, and the shot didn't go. A year later, same different thing. He's got 50 points. You would think, oh, he's going to take the shot. He hit his teammate again. Don't analyze, make the correct play, and Timmy Billingsley knocked it down. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. That's you found that after you were saying ball finds energy, make the play. So it was pretty exciting. Like I said, we were in Stevensville, Texas, and there's not much out there.
You hang 50 anywhere. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So Derrick had I guess kind of a non-traditional path to the NBA, right? He wasn't like a top 5 prospect coming out of high school. He played Division II for 3 years before he transferred to Colorado. So at what point were you like, my son's going to make the NBA? He's good enough for the NBA. Did you always believe that was a possibility?
No, my wife and I, we didn't believe. He said, like in elementary school, I'm going to be in the NBA. And we said, well, what's plan B? I mean, there's a lot of people that play basketball. Not everybody can play in the NBA. So, I mean, he's always had to work hard. He was never one of the big guns in the state. And we were just hoping that he would get another chance to play, after high school.
Yeah, look, I had to find a plan B. My 5'7" to 6'5" growth spurt never occurred for me, but yeah, that's funny. He proved you wrong. He proved the haters wrong.
Yeah, he does. He does that a lot.
Was it when he was at Colorado and you started hearing him getting some draft buzz that you were like, wow, this is actually going to happen?
Not even then. I mean, I was pretty much tracking websites and where they have the draft things, and he wasn't listed for a while, and then he was like 57th or something. It was 57 to the Celtics or something. So so it would have been something where he just had to work hard, and so he had to go the route where he had to go to Portsmouth. That's the senior only thing in Portsmouth, Virginia, and he had to do well there. And he got, he made the all tournament team, which got him an invite into the NBA combine, because he wasn't going to make the combine. I mean, and that's where you get in front of all the big name people and the movers and the shakers, and they have a couple of scrimmage games, and he played well in the first one. And like a lot of players, they'll play well in the first one and then shut it down. They won't play in the second game. But Derrick played well in the first, and he played well in the second, and then through talking to people, because his coach was Tim Hardaway Sr. And so Tim told Marcus, who's been helpful to Derrick throughout his career, he said, your guy can play. He can play in the league. So it's starting to get a little bit, it's a possibility, but you never know. And then he got drafted. So it's like, okay, he did make it.
This Popovich guy has an eye for talent, I'll say.
Yeah, honestly, could not have been drafted to a better spot. That honestly makes perfect sense. Like, Derrick's going to kind of thrive in any basketball environment because he can play, as he says, on ball, off ball, any role you kind of need. He can kind of thrive in a pickup game at a combine. So once he got the foot in the door, I'm not surprised that he was able to convince some teams. You kind of touched on this earlier, and the lack of ego from Derrick, and I think that speaks to not just Derrick but a lot of the guys on this roster, like Derrick and Malcolm Brogdon. I think half the teams in the NBA would kill to have that as their starting backcourt, and the Celtics have these guys coming off the bench, and Malcolm only plays 22 minutes tonight, and Derrick plays 24 after a showing for a month that he can start on one of the best teams in the NBA. Like, what do you think goes into, because it's not true of a lot of guys around the league. Jay Crowder was like not even willing to play for the Phoenix Suns this year because he wasn't going to be starting. So like, what do you think goes into kind of guys that are willing to sacrifice like that?
Well, I mean, the main part is to win. So, to win the game, do whatever it takes to win the game. If that means you have to play 43 minutes, you play 43 minutes. If you play 16, you play 16. But you make the most of the time and the minutes that you have, and you make it so that you're valuable enough that the coach is gonna trust you to play. That's basically what it is. I mean, if you go into it thinking I need X number of points, rebounds, assists, or whatever, well, then you have a different mentality, and then it makes more sense that you want to play more because you want to accumulate more of those stats.
Yeah, and in that vein, sort of the sacrifice vein, 538 just had a piece the other day about how the top 12, there's the top 12 in their sort of all-in-one Raptor metric. 11 of them are like MVP candidate, all-star guys, and the 12th is Derrick White. So what is it about his game? And I think we probably touched on a little bit about it, his willingness to sacrifice, his versatility in different roles, that he does all the little things that lead to winning. Was that always part of his game, even in like high school and when he was playing in D2? Or is that something as he moved up into Division I and then the NBA that he had to realize, like, I've got to fit in here. I'm not going to have the ball in my hands every possession. Or has he always been that type of player?
I mean, when he started in high school, he was pretty much tried to, fit in. And it wasn't until his junior year that they turned to him to be more of a scorer. But he's always been trying to fit in. When he got to CU, they had, they got off to a dreadful start because he was trying to fit in. He had just come in after redshirting, and it's like, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. They got to do all this, but then they decided to turn over and have the offense run through him, and then they started winning more games in the second half of the season. So he always starts slow because he's trying to fit in, and it looks like he's not being aggressive. I mean, you even saw it when he first got to the Celtics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go, well, why isn't he? Well, because you have Tatum and you have Brown, and trying not, he said that in interviews, I'm just here not to mess it up. And him go, but he didn't want to mess it up because they were doing pretty good right before he got there, and then they took off after he did get there.
Does Derrick know that his impact stats are this good? Thanks for Jeffrey in the chat asking this one. Like, is Derrick kind of aware of like how much the advanced numbers? He's like the role player Jokic. Like the advanced numbers just absolutely love him. And when you watch the games, and I feel like if you know basketball, it kind of it jumps off the screen as well, though.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
It does not surprise me.
Yeah, that 538 that all his uncle sent us a copy of that, right? Right before the game time today. So yeah, so we got to see it, but it's almost it's like Novocaine. You don't know, and then all of a sudden you look at the end, and you're knocked out. But you didn't you didn't realize what was going on until the end. So it's nice that he gets recognized for things, but he gets recognized in a way that the regular normal fan doesn't know, so they don't think he's doing anything. But I mean, there's a reason why he's like fifth in the league in plus minus behind all the and Tatum. So
Novocaine, Derrick White. Derrick Novocaine White. We've got another one. We've got another nickname for Derrick.
Yeah, we'll workshop it a little bit.
I love it.
Before we get out of here, I have just one last question for you, Richard. I am a dad. I have a 2-year-old son. What is that feeling like when you see your son step on the floor in the NBA for the first time? Because I think I would be annoyingly proud if he makes varsity basketball, never mind the NBA on the San Antonio Spurs. What does that feel like?
It was incredible because we remember the first, because they played Minnesota, so they were going and it was at home, and so we all went there, and it didn't look like he was going to get in, and then in the last 10 seconds, where they just kind of stand together and run out the clock, he got put in, so it was pretty cool. It's like, wow, he got into the game, so that was pretty exciting. But then to see him go when they played the Nuggets, so that's like, we're right here, we see all these games, and that was pretty cool. And then last year we go to the finals, and that's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and he had that game 1 in the finals as well, where he was just on fire and brought them back to for the win.
Yeah, that was insane because we were there, and then he got to do the interview with Shaq and Grant Hill, and it's just phenomenal that he made all those threes, and the team came back and won game 1. That was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have picked a better team. It feels like, between you being from Boston and a Celtics fan. I feel like the Celtics fan base as well. is a fan base that appreciates players like Derrick White, that, the advanced numbers and things like that. We kind of understand what we're seeing. And I think Marcus Smart, especially for me being kind of like let's just second generation Celtics fan, kind of, from the KG era onwards, and seeing Marcus Smart and guys that are willing to put their body on the line and move the ball and be selfless. Like I've been an absolutely massive Derrick White fan since he's arrived here. Well, I've personally given him the nickname the Mistress on the podcast, because I love him so much that I think my fiance is getting jealous. But Spoonie's like shaking his head. I was like, the chat's never going to let me live it down if I don't tell you the nickname.
He's still looking for a nickname. I mean, I guess that's.
You could let him know.
Are you aware of the Buffalo nickname? I think he got it in San Antonio because he went to Colorado.
Yeah, the Great White Buffalo. And,
yeah.
Do you guys like that one?
I mean, he's used to that one because it does make sense. He is from like CU. Oh yeah, because their announcers used to say, "Oh, let the buffalo roam," and that kind of thing.
So good.
That's awesome. All right. Well, so that's actually going to do it for this one. One housekeeping note: we are moving to CLNS. We will be off the Celtics blog feed in the next couple weeks here, so please go subscribe to the First to the Floor feed. Mr. Richard White, thank you so much. This was absolutely awesome. You gave us way more time than we deserve, so we really appreciate you coming on so much. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
All righty. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Spoonie, Jake, we are out. See you, everybody.
Bye.